3, 2, 1.
Live from the Rob Christensen Radio Network Satellite Studio, it's Jim and Rob Overanalyze the Movies. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies, a video podcast for people who love to talk about movies as much as they love watching them. Now, listen, everyone, before we get started, I've got a couple of items. First of which is I have started a new project that I'm calling Rob's Hot Mic Reviews. And here are my first, basically I record live to tape film reviews. I did the first one a few days ago about the sci-fi thriller Oxygen starring Melanie Laurent. I've got a link in the description below, and I'd love it if you'd all check it out when you've got the chance. Then let me know what you think about it in the comments there. Thanks. What else do we got going on here? Let's take off that nonsense. And oh yeah, Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Apparently these ding-dongs cannot read a room. And so I am desperate to talk about this, but it's hard to engage in Schadenfreude alone. So let's all welcome my co-host and gossip buddy, Mr. Jim Chloboyko. How you doing, my friend?
I've returned all my Golden Globes too.
You and Tom Cruise, eh?
Back to the factory with you.
So what?
Hey,
This is hilarious. Now, for those of you out there who aren't aware, so the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is the organization that puts on the Golden Globe Awards. It is something that, it's been kind of an industry joke for decades on, in part because it's a very small group. There's rarely more than 100 members. Let's put air quotes on members. It started in the 40s. Folks who lived in Hollywood but worked for foreign outlets, foreign media outlets, and they wanted more pull with the studios. And it's been kind of a really sort of in-crowd. Are they actually people have dug into it and they found, this correspondent is a car dealer actually who's done a couple of things. It's all kind of sleazy. Anyway, here we are in 2021 and they still don't have one black friend, that they can describe as a correspondent to be a member. One of their leading members actually mistook Daniel Kaluuya at the Oscars as Leslie Odom Jr. And if you've seen either of them, you're like, yeah, one does not look like the other.
Oh, not at all.
Anyway, but what I find hilarious, so yeah, the Golden Globes, NBC cancels it. Big studios, right? Like Warner Media, they're writing letters to the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. And I think this is really important here. NBC chiefs believe Golden Globes could return to air and said the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is absolutely committed to meaningful change. This after one of their other leading lights literally just a few weeks ago said, Black Lives Matter, that's a terrorist organization. Anyway, so that gives some of the background, folks. But Jim, I'd love to, first of all, let's get your take on this nonsense.
It's funny that things that you grow up with that you suddenly see maybe, coming to an end, sometimes because of COVID, sometimes because of societal change. But this could be the beginning of the end for them. It all came out of this, and once again, the power of the press. It came out of largely, or to some extent, from an LA Times investigative job, basically, that found all this stuff out. And pretty amazing how you can like you said, not read the room
which is a line I stole from you, Jim,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest. But yeah.
The kids quote me on that often, but I'm like, read the room. But seriously, not one African American board member, or not a single one. That's, I mean, guys, when the Oscars is trumping you at this stuff, you know you're in trouble. Like
that revolutionary organization.
But yeah, I kind of think, I wonder if when Tom Cruise, my main question was, when Tom Cruise returned did he expect a whole volley of people to follow him? Like, was he thinking that he was doing something brave and that everybody would be returning theirs en masse? Because I haven't heard too many stories. I've had a crazy week, but I haven't heard too many stories of people returning theirs since. But I'm sure it's been happening.
Great note. I don't. You know what? That's a great note, Jim. I'm not sure. I thought it was. How did I describe it to somebody the other night? I was like, boy, when Tom Cruise is kind of going, you are making me look bad.
Yeah.
You got to really start to wonder. I thought it was like, it was is it a heroic thing? No. Is it maybe it's just acknowledging a simple fact that those awards really weren't, did they? And this is something we've talked about on this show, even when we were doing our analysis of the Golden Globes nominees and the award winners. We've talked about the story, more than once. Like, this is not new to you and I. This is actually not really that new to our audience. I gotta admit, though, and this is why I really love this last story, let's say, that I've got up on the big screen now, is they could return to the air. And I deeply believe that, Jim. I don't think we can count the Golden Globes out, because the inherent nature is funny. One of I think it was Warner Media, or maybe it was the Netflix guy, they're saying, at times we've let you take advantage of us. We've accepted this abuse from your members. And it's like, I mean, Emily in Paris flew 30 of them to Paris for a junket.
Yeah.
F off. Like, the Golden Globes has always been part of the ecosystem, because it was one of those things, unlike the Academy Awards, where you really had to campaign hard and you were never really sure. You had to wait for the votes counted. Here was an award you could buy. And Hollywood is deeply concerned with, can I make an investment here that will help sell our movies? The actors that had to go through the mill because they're only as good as their last one, they're like, they got to put up with this crap, the sexual harassment, the racism, the kissing the ass of terrible people. They're kind of stuck, because the machine is like going, yeah, but if you get that, then maybe this will help us out with the Oscars, the thing you really want, But yeah, I'm not willing to count him out. And I can, as much as I respect Tom Cruise for giving his back, kind of acknowledging, and they're all kind of bullshit awards anyway, I'm not going to judge harshly the ones who keep it. They had to put up with a lot of crap to win that shit.
Yeah.
Pardon my poor language. A lot of swearing here.
The
Thank
other
God
thing,
we're not monetized.
I mean, the big thing too is that NBC is dropping the broadcast, which is a pretty big deal. Now, as many people have pointed out, their ratings have been
to air according to NBC. Like, it's
but
almost like a boyfriend or a girlfriend saying, "If you would just sign up for the not drinking course."
Yeah.
You just sign up go to one AA meeting and we can all go back to the way it was before, where we're making money selling tickets.
like with something like hockey, where the broadcast rights are the big thing. I mean, the gate is important as well, but the watching, the people who are showing you it, Olympics, fill in the blank. There's a number of things out there that people aren't going to see live, but they'll see on television and feel they've taken part in it or had a hand in it or even just witnessed it. That sort of, and again with COVID, we're all fully aware of how important our screens are to us now. And when you don't have any broadcasting rights, that's a big deal. Who's going to pick it up? Also, how does this affect the non-American broadcast rights? Like, would it be shown in Canada? All we do is pick up the NBC feed, I'm pretty sure. But how does that affect the rest of the world? It is the foreign press. So somewhere in here, there's a Bowfinger-like movie about the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. And
this doesn't affect the foreign press at all. Not the actual foreign press. That organization is so corrupt, so flaky, so flimsy. It is now, is the association in a lot of trouble? Like, it's sitting on millions of dollars. It's not about to go broke. But is it in trouble if they can't repair that broadcast relationship? Absolutely. But I'm wondering, Jim, let's say if it does, all I can think of is somebody will step into the gap. Right now, there are players going, well, we could be the replacement. Is the Writers Guild of America and the DGA and Screen Actors Guild, are they getting together going, could we cobble something together to all of us, and then we'll take that money? Because there's a check there. A big check.
I was thinking it'd be funny if it was taken up by Spike, that old Channel 16 in Winnipeg, or the bro channel with all the knife shows and 100 Ways to Die or whatever they just as an aside.
Even Vice, on Vice.
Yes,
awards.
On SNL once they did an ad for Downton Abbey as if it was showing on Spike. So they tried to make it, hey, check out this, and it was totally hilarious. But I wouldn't put it past them to show something. Or everyone's talking about all the rights, talking about cancel culture as they're canceling their own people out. Who's to say that Fox wouldn't pick this up at some point along the way?
Yeah. No, that's true. You're absolutely right. Is it because here's, folks, for you don't know, Jim and I, some of our videos are successful, some aren't. I would say we, there's some videos where we're pretty proud of the conversation, and we're always proud of everyone in the best chat on the internet. But here's the thing. Our two best videos that are legitimate videos and the best performance, the best watch time, the best, were our pre-Golden Globes, the show we did with Cody. Remember that one, Jim? It had almost 900 views, a ton of watch hours. It was a successful show. And although I think YouTube, there was some errors in metrics and that, but even if we just talk watch time, our Oscar stuff, that drives eyeballs. Even the stuff we did on Oscar movies and Globe-nominated movies drives eyeballs. So, we're part of the ecosystem as well. And this is why I'm like, maybe the Golden Globes is done for, maybe the Hollywood Foreign Press is done for, but not somebody's going to put up an award show in there. And yeah, you're right, Jim. What if Fox says, you know what? You be as racist as you want. We'll figure it out, or do one thing, the thing that NBC I'm not ready to count. I'm not ready to count it out. They're not canceled. They've been put in the penalty box. They've been suspended for a few games. But is it the end of their career? To use the hockey analogy, I don't know. Not ready to count them out. But folks, you know what? We will catch up with you, folks in the chat, or if you're watching this later, comment down below. Do you think that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is done for? Do you think the Golden Globes are done for? Or are they going to quickly reinvent themselves and either find themselves back on NBC or perhaps another network? Lifetime Golden Globes. All right, Jim, if it's cool with you, I think I'm going to. I think it's time to actually do the show that we promised.
Yeah, no,
everyone.
sounds good.
How does that sound? All right, let's. I've made it all fancy, folks. I wrote a script and everything, which is why it'll sound like I'm reading from a script, because I am. All right, where are we here? Okay. Well, that's enough self-righteous moralizing anyway. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Jim and I are going to take a look at, with you, the best chat on the internet. We'll be discussing Netflix, The Woman in the Window, starring Amy Adams. This psychological thriller tells the tale of an agoraphobic woman living alone in New York who begins to spy on her new neighbors, only to witness a disturbing act of violence. It was directed by Joe Wright with a screenplay from Tracy Letts based on the novel by A.J. Finn. The film also has a stellar supporting cast, including Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gary Oldman, Anthony Mackie, and Julianne Moore. Now, let's get into the ingredients, the ideological ingredients of this show. First of all, will it earn a reframe stamp? I don't believe it will. So that's a big X for that one. Was it union made? Yes, it was. What about the Bechdel test? Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple of scenes, but one key one that definitely shows that definitely has two main characters, and they have a real conversation. It really is one of the highlights of the flick. And then last but certainly not least, is there class consciousness? Well, let's see. When they're talking about their respective brownstone homes, one going for $5.5 million and the other one looking just as nice, I think we can be confident in saying, no, that is not the movie you're looking for. All right, with that out of the way, Jim, my friend, what are your first thoughts?
My first thoughts, too. I also wrote a few thoughts down, so I'll just quickly read as if I'm trying not to read. So, first impressions.
Look at us getting fancy.
Yeah, no kidding. Preparing, research, what? So, I didn't know tons about this before going in, which is sort of our little bit of our mode, right? And I didn't do any research, didn't read any reviews because I didn't want them to color what I thought of it. So, wading into this, I was surprised. It was quite a star-studded vehicle. At first, I thought I had a kind of a line on it. I wasn't sure when it was filmed. So at first I thought it might be a kind of a Knives Out kind of thing, like this really thick mystery with a big cast, most of them names. But I realized it was shot a little bit, probably at the same time Knives Out was shot, actually. This is a movie that's been sort of in its film canister for about 2 or 3 years. And then I thought I was totally sure I read a COVID vibe in this. Of course, it was filmed way before COVID, so I was wrong on both counts. The other question I have is more rhetorical. When a movie pays tribute to older movies, should we just watch the older movies instead? I don't know. Otherwise, there was a
hot take.
Thank you. I haven't had one in a while. So it's a little bit of a setup, a little bit of a puzzle movie. There's there may or may not be an unreliable narrator. I don't think we're in the no spoiler zone yet, or in the spoiler zone yet. But it grew on me as we watched it. I know a lot of people have been sort of crumpling up and throwing it over their shoulder. But if anything, I think it's a little more overbaked than it needs to be. A little bit of style over substance, except for Amy Adams' collection of muumuus. But other than that, I don't even know if it's technically a muumuu. Carl and I were arguing about that last night. It's a nightgown. No, it's a muumuu. Anyway. So yeah.
They were all nightgowns, I think.
Yes, I think
and
so.
maybe one pregnancy dress.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, ultimately I thought it was okay. I wasn't bored at any point. There's things that I would have done differently, but it was apparently quite a route to get to our eyeballs. And we can talk about that more later. Did I like it? Yeah, I liked it. If you had a chance to watch Rear Window or this, yeah.
Yeah. Hold on that. We're about to get
Sure.
into I'll give you my thoughts on it, a little more condensed, although there's a fair bit of overlap there. For myself, Jim, I was really, maybe for the same reasons, I too was trying to get on a line on this. And it's like, okay, is this mystery thriller a la Rear Window, which it overtly and, like consciously and subconsciously, or it refers to, where it's a trapped neighbor who is trying to solve a crime that they think has happened, or is it a witness to a crime that is on the run? Because those are two different movies.
Yeah.
And here I felt it was that, and that it was trying to do both and ended up with neither. It was neither fish nor fowl. And so myself, I was left disappointed at the end of it. There were certainly parts where it was, more engaging, and any of the superlatives I have for it, and there are a few. I'll wait until we're talking about the craft of the film, and but yeah, otherwise I was left wanting at the end of it. I was like, kind of, well, who would I recommend this to? Which I guess really kind of leads us to, what do you think? So worth your time, Jim.
I'm sort of fence-sitting a bit on this. Ultimately, I'd say, I mean, I didn't. Yeah, I'd say.
Let me give you a suggestion to help frame this. It's almost like we have four ways we can answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a definite yes and, oh, well, and blah, 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 blah. But either a definite yes, a definite no, but then there are two qualifiers. We can go yes if, or no but, or no if and yes but. So run with one of those.
If you're an Amy Adams fan, go for it. But otherwise, I would just watch Rear Window again.
Oh,
so
and there is a few others in there, like you heard. Bogart,
oh yeah,
I think. Oh, you know what? We'll get into this later. I did
Certainly,
take notes. Okay, for myself, yeah, I can't even give it a. Well, actually, you know what, Jim? I'm going to jump on your recommendation. You're absolutely right. You're a big fan of Amy Adams. I was trying to see if you're a real whodunit, why-done-it fan, no, don't. If you're a psychological, no, I can't recommend it then.
Yeah.
Because it's such a mush, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, you're a big Amy Adams fan. You're not going to see the best performance of hers, but you're going to see a solid performance from her. So, yeah, okay. Yes, if you're a big Amy Adams fan, I agree with Jim. Wow.
Good.
That's noteworthy, eh? Okay, folks, we are going to be entering the spoiler zone now. But that said, I think it is now time to we've got a number of people. If I can actually find my spoiler zone. Oh, there we are. Okay, so we're going to enter the spoiler zone, but maybe it's time to say hi to everyone in the chat. We got an active chat that was already going. Let's say hi to the chat, and then we'll get into the craft, story, and meaning of this flick. All right, first of all, not just 1/3 of the Balmoral Street Research Irregulars, but a new YouTuber Vlad65,
yeah.
who just put up his second video, folks. I will pin that one as well in the comments. It was about the first was he did on the Cruel Sea. Now he's into the man who came in from the cold, or the spy who came in from the cold.
Spy, I think, yeah.
Spy. Okay. Anyway, Vlad65, great seeing you here, man.
Woohoo!
And now we got the another third of the Balmoral Street Research Irregulars, Mr. Richard L. How you doing, man?
They're talking to each other in code.
They are. And holy cow, I was just thinking of you the other day, Shashank. Great to see Shashank.
Yes. Woo.
Our man in Chennai. There's some Jimbo guy, you know. We'll block him soon enough. We got the whole research regulars team wrapped up here. Katie Fowler.
Oh yes. Woo.
Oh, and a great comment, great hot.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, it's coming. Hot take from Katie Fowler. This is a great bit. She says, the Golden Globes just need to change their name like nightclubs do in Winnipeg when things go sideways. You're absolutely... It's a great take. I can't even say I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's just a take. That's just a solid take, an accurate take. Yeah. Oh, Auto Coffee. Hello, sir. This is a guy, Jim, and we just haven't been able to figure it out, but it's a guy, he's a coffee professional now, but he used to be in the film industry. I just haven't figured out a where and when yet, but we got to have him on the show. He's
sure.
I think he'd be a very, really cool collaborator. Plus, he's got the smoothest voice. I just want to hear that voice on our podcast. Great to see you here on a coffee. All right.
Yeah. Welcome.
Who else do we got here? Vlad. Oh. Speaking of smooth sounds. Mr. Curtis Judd is in the house.
Woohoo.
Good to see ya.
Welcome to the Jazz Hour. My name's Curtis. No, I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And I think we've got everyone in the chat. So Jim, I think it's time to I think it's time to jump into the actual let's start talking about the craft of this flick. For myself, you know what, Jim, on the positive side, okay, so some of the standards are there. Yes, the sound is recorded well. You know, you're there. The cinematography is absolutely fine. I wouldn't say it is as arty as I think they maybe wanted it to be, as stylistic as it could have been. I think that's more in the production design. At times I was like, oh, there's a little P.T. Anderson there, Paul Thomas Anderson. Apparently they're just going to hint at it and then move on. There's David Fincher, like, kind of style and look vibes in it, but I think as far as that goes, it was fine. I want to circle back to the actual color and production design look, but first I want to talk about performances. Yes, as we both agreed, Amy Adams was super solid. You see why she's a movie star, even when she's playing this frumpy kind of meh sort of, you know, she's still kind of, you want to watch what she's doing.
Yeah.
Even with the character, doesn't do a hell of a lot. The kid, the neighbor kid, the neighbor boy, Ethan, thank you. I thought he was pretty solid. Julianne Moore, of all the big name supporting players, she was probably the best. But and here's what I want to ask you and kind of hand it off to you. I felt otherwise, like even Julianne Moore, her Jennifer Jason Leigh, it's like, well, nothing was done with her. Even Gary Oldman, Anthony Mackie, like they were like, I got the feeling, Jim, that they were all, and I don't mean phoning it in, but they were like, they got paid for a couple of days each. They're flown in. There's no rehearsal because you don't feel a connection with any of these people. Again, not knocking them like they're phoning it in. I think there's a part of me going, you could have saved the money, hired a solid day player, hire a solid real just character actor, and spent more time rehearsal or something to build a connection. Whereas they're like, nope, we'll fly him in, we'll fly her in, and it'll be wonderful because we have these names on a list. What do you think?
Yeah. To that point, I was looking back at this, and it is quite a cast. Walt had mentioned it in the chat there that
let's
Gary
get them
Oldman
on screen with us.
Gary Oldman and Joe Wright had worked together in The Darkest Hours, right? Which won Oldman the Oscar there for playing Churchill. There's a couple things that I really didn't like about this movie. I didn't like hi Dragon Movie Guy. There was some it just drives me nuts when there's some procedural aspects, like when somebody's obviously undergoing some sort of breakdown and they let the family she's accusing into her house. I thought I think Gary Oldman's allowed to sort of wander around and be saucy and then just go anywhere without.
But I think that was like a story problem. Like that's not it's not a performance issue.
No.
I'm gonna walk in now, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. And that kind of stuff. Just there's no way that anyway. So in terms of the cast, you have to think Julianne Moore had a great scene with Amy Adams. But it was one, and then later on, I was thinking she was actually technically only in there for one scene where she had dialogue. Right? There was other scenes with her across the way where she's being spied on, but
she was being observed.
Tracy Letts, the famous playwright, he played her psychologist. He was in there. He probably had a good 3 days on set, maybe. I don't know. But
he did also write the screenplay. He did the adaptation.
Yeah. There's a guy named the one that played Detective Little, Brian Tyree Henry. Mm-hmm. He's one of the main characters. He's the rapper Paperboy in Atlanta, Donald Glover's show. And I keep on waiting. I keep on waiting for him to sort of find a role for him. This was kind of close to it. I mean, being a sort of a kindly cop is not probably too challenging, but I enjoyed him in this role. I'm still waiting for his career to take shape. He's in a lot of, sort of B projects and things like that, playing the best friend or what have you. But for the other ones, Jennifer Jason Leigh was in it for a little bit. It was odd. And then they pin and Wyatt Russell. Let's not forget Wyatt Russell. And even though Wyatt Russell and Anthony Mackie didn't have any scenes with each other, I was actually going to sort of start this out by saying it was a Winter Soldier and Falcon spinoff, but as they're both in that. But I
want to pin this. We're going to talk about this as an issue because I was getting into arguments with people later. We're going to talk about script versus performance.
Yeah. So anyway, so in terms of the actors, it was a really weird mishmash. And then they pin everything on the Ethan character, who has a career. I'm not too familiar with his work, but he's a younger actor, and it all hinges on him. Him being believable, right? And you come in the first few minutes, you realize that he's creepy, but you're not sure which way it's going to go. In terms of other stuff, there's one thing that if you are going to compare this Rear Window to this, I think that Rear Window, they sort of established the location for everything a little better. This one, first of all, what a ridiculous brownstone for one family. Like all those, I can't imagine the three of them living in it, or a little girl feeling secure in a place that size. But I wasn't sure, she was looking out at a church. and some kids playing their music instruments from school. And I guess that was out back, but it might have been the side as well. So I sort of thought that could have been done a little better. The whole thing was a little bit overbaked. I'll make this my last point, then we can move on. The whole thing, I think, was a tiny bit overbaked. So at one point in the third act...
Okay, so do you want to, we're jumping all over the place. Let's focus on the craft.
The craft. Well, I was going to say, there's an aspect of sound that they used where she was going to pull out her umbrella, which is a coping mechanism because she's agoraphobic. So she pulls out the umbrella and it makes a knife sound. Like, I swear to God, it's like a sword or a knife, and it's an umbrella. And I went, come on. Like, it's clearly not a knife. It's not deadly. It's an umbrella. So that's
she never uses it that way anyway. It's like teasing something and never paying off. No fireworks factory.
So there is an example, and I wanted to, because I have it in my notes, where sound was used as a bit of a feint, or just it showed that I think there are other aspects of this that are overbaked, all the water on the roof, etc., etc. So, and that's, I think, a good example of how this is just a little bit overdone in some places.
My bad. It's like, whoa, wait a second. Well, we got everyone who apparently were part of the development team and read the script in the chat. Yes, I'm going to get into a fight with the chat soon. What about, and this may go part of a piece in what we've all talked about, and I'm going to throw up some of the stills, some of the production stills. You know what? Here are some of the, all courtesy of Netflix. So this is all, you get these blues, and then, when she's with, there she is there, and is still a blue, but kind of a gold or really high pressure sodium look, her creeping on the neighbors, again, back to that blue. But then there's something there. She's just wrapped in gold, but still in a blue, dark space. And I really thought, Jim, that it was such a, how can I put it? It's so stylized. Like, if I had more time, I got a nice pamphlet from one of these operations on color theory where it was like, because it's almost like they're really leaning into the teal and orange thing that, every Michael Bay film is almost like two color, duochrome. But this one really kind of hammers it so hard. And then at the end of the film, she gets in a yellow cab, her a lot more back to the more earth tones in her dress and everything. But it was like, really, and maybe this is more of the same of what you're talking about, is just that really hammering it. Like, just, it's the whole hand is mashing all the buttons on style, and now, you know what, thinking about what you're talking about as far as the sound goes, a lot of sound cues that kind of don't really build any tension, because you never get an idea of what the place sounds like anyway. You never, that's not built. They don't spend enough time even building the house as a character, which I think if they did, and like you said, if they, like in Rear Window, where his apartment isn't the character, the neighborhood is, and we really get a good idea of where his window is in relation to all else. You're absolutely right. I mean, again, like, not a lot to complain about here, but I'm still just stuff you notice because you're not really that engaged in this mushy story. It becomes one of those things you just kind of, you notice the like I said, and the big money spent on the big name actors, where it's like, what are they doing? What did Jennifer Jason Leigh do? What were you doing with her?
Oh, that could have been anyone.
Much, Well, even I would say Gary Oldman could have been any solid character actor. Did you need Gary Oldman? Especially when apparently he's not really the conflict, but who knows? Anything else you want to say on conflict before we move into story?
on
real-
Craft.
Yeah.
You know, I in terms of the look of the apartment, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, if that was that as well was overdone. Like it seemed to be the paint job was done by a real depressed house painter, I think, because you get it. It's this messy kind of. Yeah, it just the whole place wasn't. It didn't feel like a family home. It almost, and they didn't really establish it. It almost feels like she bought it after what happened.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't really see them living there as a family, but it's a bit of a fantasy apartment too. I mean, the entire or nightmare, the entire brownstone to herself except for the basement. But yeah, I mean, it's got all the stylistic hooks in it. It's got the big staircase. It's got the skylight. I wonder if those will come in handy in the future. But
With the mold that means it'll fall apart.
yeah,
Because it's always mold that creates a tear down.
If you ever watched Elementary, they have an equally messy brownstone. It's that redo of Sherlock Holmes in New York with the Lucy Liu and Johnny Miller there. But yeah, no,
I'm okay with the brownstone with hardly anyone in it.
Yeah,
Totally okay. Millionaires do that.
Yeah.
She's established as a shrink. Who knows what? I'm okay with that. I think though, then you really have to. And I'm thinking about David Fincher. Not necessarily his biggest fan, but let's say in Panic Room, he establishes the neighborhood and he establishes that brownstone as a character. Mm-hmm. And how maze-like it is, because there you go. You've got a woman and her daughter. That's all that's living in there. Yeah, so I was okay with that, but they didn't do enough with it.
Yeah,
to really
that's
establish it as a space of either dread or like it's almost like they're just like, oh, boy, look at all those colors, like those solid, just blue.
Yeah. There was one
Gold.
quick note where
is it like a blue inside? There's this kind of fight between blue and gold, and is gold the outside? Like it's almost like it's. Part of me is like, okay, am I missing something here, or is it really that obvious that she's struggling between the darkness and the light? Like, really? Like this is almost like student film stuff.
There was Julianne Moore's character actually comments on the place, and she says something like,
"Oh,
and
shitty,
then it's
shitty
like,
apartment."
So you're stuck in this shitty shithole, aren't you, shithead? You know, or something like that. And you're like, she seems a bit off, but anyway.
And the place doesn't look shitty. It's depressing.
Yeah,
but is it shitty? Oh, well.
Needs some work, but anyhow.
All right, let's jump to story. In part because I wanna talk a bit about. I really am, Jim, desperate to talk about when everyone's talking about script, because I've gotten into, can I call them arguments? No, but I really kind of want to say, when people are talking script versus performance or script versus anything, and I'm going to harken back to The Unthinkable, where I saw a lot of people criticizing the script of Unthinkable. I'm not saying that the script was good. I'm not actually saying whether it was bad either. We don't know. But I'm kind of blown away that even Oxygen, the script was bad, but, the direction was good. What? Then what criteria are you using to judge the direction? Like, you and I, at least we show our work. By the end of it, we're kind of going, I think we got to say the director passed or failed based on the result of our discussion on all these things that we can see. So, is the script bad? We just don't know. Even Tracy Lett performing in it does not mean the script, we just don't know how it was developed. What we can do is talk about story. And yeah, it's got some weaknesses here. Back to that, neither fish nor fowl, but when you say, it's the script, not the performances, it's just like you have no criteria. And I mean, everyone in the chat who's saying it, all Jim and I's folks in the space, unless you've got the script in your hand and you're going, no, see, on page 22, he says this because I've been on set. I've seen how these things work out. You know what? It's kind of like judging the house or a big building, whatever it is, the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. And let's say you don't like the building and you blame the person who made the maquette and the artistic renderings. There's so much between a building's maquette and artistic renderings, the digital renderings, and the final building that they're almost like, I mean, you can kind of see some of the roots, but you can't go, oh, well, must have been the shitty maquette. Well, it's the same thing with a film. Too many things are involved. It's why it's a director's medium, not a screenwriter's medium. Television, a little different. But when we're talking about film, folks, you know what? We can say the story's bad because we can see that. We can see it with our eyes. We can go, when character did this, why did they do that? Coming back to some of the things Jim was saying. Yeah, you get to kind of go, what the... How does the neighbors get involved in the interrogation? Or taking a report from a witness, whichever.
Yeah. We'll help you out.
You know, yeah, exactly. The, you got the good cop, bad cop. Even when the cop at the end is saying, I mean, this is my biggest eye roll moment. A lot of people will be apologizing to you. And I'm like, well, she is a rich white woman, so nah, the police ain't apologizing to anyone. Heck, I bet you some of them are still trying to stick it to her, still trying to pin it all on her.
Yeah.
You know, we've just seen too many of these stories where the police F up and deny it all. So, but yeah, is that the script? Because we don't know the script. We don't know what was sold in 2015, 2016. Like it was pegged as a movie before the book came out.
Yeah.
You know, written, of course, by a guy who really got nailed for lying about his own past.
Yeah.
Which I think is, in some ways, that is more interesting than the movie we're talking about. Anyway, enough of my rant. I just want to say, it's like, let's focus on what we can see. The story. Actor A comes in. Someone directed them to do that. You know what? Is Tracy Letts at fault? Is the book at fault? You know what? We have the book, but we don't have that key piece between the two. You know what? I think we got to talk about the story first, or of the first and only, really, unless we got the script. Hey, if we have the script in our hand, we can start script reviewing too. I say this to all.
Maybe we should ask that next time we're talking to Warner Brothers publicity or whoever it was.
Netflix's PR team, which
is
actually smart. It's too bad I don't love this movie because they were wonderful. Like, I got all the, well, yeah, we got production stills. We've got the proper poster. We got the production notes. I don't want to get into the screener thing, so I've always kind of kept myself, at arm's length with these folks. But I got to admit, this part I do like. So, anyway.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That's the first time we got that kind of thing. And I think Rob's going to go to bed in his woman in the window moo-moo.
Oh, heck, if they'd given me one of those, I'd be wearing it tonight. Who knows? Maybe that was the crew gift. All right. Okay. Yeah, there's my rant. Jim, why don't you take over for a while, and then let's jump in with the chat, because I certainly saw that they were responding, and I don't want to blow that off. Anyway, but you go. What did you think of the story of it, the film story, and
I don't know if you remember the first time you saw something like 77 Sunset Strip. Again, the Sea Candy Late Show was awesome for things like that, where it starts off being narrated by a character who is no longer with us. So that, that whole kind of like questionable narrator thing is ever since then. I think I saw it when I was 12, or I stayed up late when I was 13 or something, and mom was, asleep, and you just sort of, you'd have the little black and white TV in your room like all the kids did back then, and you turn the sound down and watch it. But ever since then, like, that was my first hint at a real sort of unreliable narrator, and it's sort of, I've seen it in various formations from then. This one, in the first few minutes, I thought, I was sort of primed. I knew something was going on. Somebody wasn't who they said they were. You get to recognize a puzzle movie pretty quick. And
well, it's part of being a mystery, right? What's really going on here? We're primed to look for it.
Yeah. And then you're just aware of how many things can go wrong. There was something about the movie that I didn't. It took me a while to get into it. The first act, maybe, I didn't really trust, and I thought, first the son comes over, and then the mom evidently the mom comes over later on, and they're all just, I don't know, there was just something about it that I didn't buy. But the scene with Julianne Moore and Amy Adams was good and long, and it allowed the characters to grow a bit. You got to see, Amy Adams sort of calm down a little bit. Julianne Moore sort of kicked her feet up on the table. And it's funny too, because her character was a little bit sort of, she would say things that a lot of people don't say. She was a little bit rough around the edges. Yeah. And I thought, I didn't think to myself, is she who she says she is? But I noticed that the picture in the locket of Ethan, the son, was one when he was an infant, and not as a current. So I thought that was weird. And, they replayed a couple scenes in it as if to remind you, like, she didn't say, yes, that is my name, or that is who I am. Mm-hmm. But I allowed myself into it about halfway through. Like, I just sort of went with the flow, even though I had sort of, it's a Saturday night watching the movie. This is another one Carla watched with me. I actually, in my notes earlier on, I said, creepy neighbor kid left Boston because of him, ? So, I when you're able to figure things out fairly early, whether or not you're sure of it, that's not my favorite things are when you don't know where a movie is going, right? And you're like, I have no idea how this thing is going to end. And that's kind of the biggest reward. And in this one, there was a predictability about it. There was you could sort of see where the puzzle was going, even though you weren't entirely sure how those pieces would fit together.
Do you think that part of it was there just wasn't that much of a puzzle? Like, it and even in the quote, this is one of the bummers about this film. She solves nothing. She discovers nothing. Yeah. She is saved by a picture. Well, like, you're in the third act now. Well, there's this picture. See, I'm not going crazy. And it's like, well, then what? So it almost like it undercuts all the unreliable narrator stuff we have seen. But it's not like she solved the crime. Mm-hmm. The kid has to come and have his expository moment where we're learning stuff that we didn't know we needed to care about. It's like, okay, well, we saw him. Even when he got into the truck with the backpack, I was like, oh, I guess a fancy private school kid's off to, like, we didn't know he was going for days. We didn't, like, this is not and this is what I mean. It's like, what movie are we watching? If we're watching a whodunit / why done it, because it's really about the motive, I don't even think there's any time where we could say, oh, serial killer, maniac. We don't have that. That's not, he's a creepy neighbor kid, but we're not given, if the cat died, oh, maybe we are on there's a nut. Or we're hearing about cats going missing in the neighborhood, and then poor Puffball or whatever the heck that little fur ball was named. The
Pitch or something.
Yeah, Punch.
Punch. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's not that. It's also not the agoraphobic trapped and being hunted, and we're spending a lot of time in this brownstone, because she's being hunted down. Like it's built to this moment where we've gotten all these things set up on how she's going to hide, how the outside is coming in on her.
Yeah.
Or that it's a character study about somebody, losing their mind, and that it's just a dream of a crazy woman. Or heck, even give us enough that we're thinking maybe she's the one who did it.
Yeah.
We don't get that either. We know there's something going on in her past is why she's agoraphobic all of a sudden. When that comes out, it's revealed in a lame way. I thought we didn't get any hints or enough hints. And then when it all kind of comes out in here it is. It's like a whole bunch of, here's the exposition. And it's like, okay, thanks. Check.
Well, they had that car windshield point of view thing that they kept on showing us glimpses of the whole, like that, and the snow
and a stop.
Yeah. In terms
but that's the only one we got. We didn't get any, even if we look at, you got the phone call thing, but that's not handled well. You got the shrink, where it's like, or is that all she's making up being with the shrink thing?
Yeah.
Even being, you could be under supervision. It's like, oh no, it's a rich person who could afford therapy. No supervision unless they're killing others. And even then, they might get away with it. But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a couple of things that there were a couple scenes that succeeded. One of them, despite my aversion to having the entire Russell family in her apartment, there was that scene where she lost it. She started to sound like a bit of a crazy lady, and she then that's the scene, the reveal.
Threw poor David under the bus.
Yeah, and guess he's moving out. But where the more serious cop says your family's dead. You don't have a family. Your family's dead, and she kind of started to change her and everything about her changed, like her body language and her voice, and she started to trail off, and you started to think that maybe she is that delusional and that that she's that dysfunctional. But do you know what I mean? Like that was one of the things that I did like.
Yeah, like I'm thinking not overbaked, but under.
Both overbaked and undercooked.
Well, it's all
burnt
wrong
on top and raw in the middle.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah, but also just the wrong ingredients. We've got this pie, and we've got stew, and we've got cake, and we've got meringue. I don't know. It's part cheesecake, and it's like none of those things work together.
Yeah.
That a bit of hyperbole, but yeah, I think much like The Unthinkable, there's fundamental story problems here. I am not sure, though. Unlike Unthinkable, where I can speculate how it happened, it's hard to say. Like, again, did Joe write not a? Like, it's funny. Like, it's A-list people. You can see
not a lightweight
watching a feature. Like, it was meant to be. Even though they did reshoots, like I after I watched, I did some internet sleuthing myself. There's a movie in here I would have loved to have watched. If it was about her being a sleuth, trapped in her home because she's agoraphobic, because of this dark backstory, you bet, but that she's sleuthing. And we see her doing a bit of sleuthing late in the game. And then it seems she's kind of crappy at it because she gets caught in an obvious lie. And it's like, oh, she can't be that good a sleuth. We were told how genius she was at learning about her neighbors, even though she never leaves.
Yeah.
She's
even got the camera, and it's just I think he killed his wife. You just sort of half
And
expected.
David could have been her, her Grace Kelly. Like, we could have had a really kind of cool movie here that's like more investigatory, or even a cool kind of Panic Room-esque thing where she's on the run, or even a great dramatic moment where she has to go outside, and meanwhile we get the lame umbrella thing, and that doesn't pay off. Like, again, these things that never pay off.
And Joe Wright, let's not forget when he directed Atonement. Isn't that the one with the landing on? Isn't the Dunkirk scene that's
Dunkirk? There's
that shot, that uncut shot for like 12 minutes that just goes around down the beach and finds Jamie McAvoy or something to that effect. It's been years since I've seen it, but I mean, this guy's no slouch either, So
the talent on display, or the talent available.
Potentially, the
talent available does not meet the story that they made, and that's the thing, is it's not like the first time. I mean, unless Buddy got the sweetheart adaptation deal, everything in my book must remain the same, which is just not going to happen. The director could, like directors do it all the time. They go, yep, okay, we're going to dump this, we're going to focus on this. Yeah. Do that. And then we've got a movie. Why not do that?
How much does Stephen King love Stanley Kubrick's The Shining? Answer, he doesn't. Poor Scatman Crothers.
Yeah. Let's jump to the chat for a bit. I've had my rant. There may have been some comments relative to it. So, first of all, Richard here is referring to something about Vlad buying these characters. You know what, Jim? I think we'll wait for a further comment from Richard or Vlad regarding my script rant, and DMG, who keeps putting script in caps, I think just to poke me in the eye. But Richard, do we buy these actors, or do we buy these characters? Which is a perfect question. I don't know. For me, I bought Amy. I bought the Shrink. Kind of bought the kid. I was okay. You know what? We should all watch these movies instead of looking for. I think this is really important for us all to remind ourselves and this is difficult given what we do afterwards, but to be open to the movie and to go with the flow instead of, hunting for the problems. That said, I found it an eye poker that you got the good cop and the bad cop, the woman played by, bear with me, I'll pull up her name, Janine Sorales. I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. I mean, I was like, you're like really offensive. And I met some jerk cops, but would you be that much of a jerk? First, and even filing false police reports. And it's like, she's not a Karen going, I saw a black man,
Yeah.
So I think some of the characters I wasn't buying their behavior. Like you, Jim, I didn't like it's the family here, and how come they get to yell at the caller? Like, what? This isn't some drunken outdoor fight where the police are separating them as they're screaming at each other like it's a crappy Cops episode. So
and also the Oldman character, every scene, and he doesn't have to come out dialed to 11 every scene, but he's literally screaming at people in every scene, and nobody just tells him to fuck off. I would love to have seen that. Would have been satisfying to some extent, just to have, instead of her backing up,
shut the hell up,
get the hell out of my apartment or something. That would give you a little bit of jam, a little bit of purchase. But no, she's agoraphobic, right? But
but she's not afraid of people. She's afraid of outside.
Story-wise,
Pick one.
story-wise, that wasn't that engaging. And actually having a guy, a kind of antagonist who just, it's like an Eminem song, starts like, with there's no sense of dynamics.
Yeah.
Like it's all in your face.
Yeah.
And he's screaming at everyone. So.
Well, that was that's why I thought, they didn't have time to develop. Like they didn't have any real time. And so it's like, what I want you to do is really be in her face. It reminded me of Delroy Lindo in The Five Bloods. Like there was only one volume, one setting, you know. Yeah. And that's a problem. That's where's the director going? Yeah, this is what I want. Like, it's not. Well, okay, you never know. It is Gary Oldman. Maybe he was like, I want to play it this way, and they all went, whatever.
And I haven't seen him.
I can't say it's impossible, but I saw him in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy the other night. I rewatched that. Where
That's such a great movie.
The reverse, where he's able to even everything he communicates in not communicating, in not like, God damn, like the man can do it.
How they distilled that whole thing into 2 hours and a bit is just, one for the textbooks, I think. But yeah.
This is continue, keep going.
That was a sort of a missed opportunity. Just a lot. It just not played very well. A lot of sort of typical choices and things like that. So
I'm going to hear something going on the blinds and that. There are blinds. She will close the shutters every now and then.
Oh yeah, that's true.
She does have curtains. It's literally in the shop behind us. It's the weird kind of half closed, half not closed, weird choices, I think.
Mm.
You know what? But I was okay with the shears. But she does. There's points at which she closes like actual European style shutters.
I know what I was going to say. Gary Oldman, there was a point in his career where, 10, 12, 15 years into his career, where every character he played, mass spoiler alert, dies. If he wasn't the bad guy, he would still die anyway. I mean, he died. Well, one of them, like Beethoven, I don't think he can. He obviously dies historically, so that's that kind of an inevitable thing. But I think all of his characters, he was like the anti-Harrison Ford. Every role died. Then I saw one movie with him and he didn't die, and I was kind of like, what? What's going on? Has the world shifted on its axis? But
I'm kind of curious what Vlad's saying here. But if the script worked, we wouldn't care. We wouldn't care about what?
Oh, the details and stuff, like the things that take you out of the
story
movie.
Once you're out. Yeah. But I'm kind of wondering, though. Well, I'm going to both agree and disagree. Yeah, if the story's weak enough, to Five Bloods is such a wonderful, wonderful excuse. Such a wonderful excuse. Where the hell am I going with that? I'm going to have to come back to that. I'm agreeing and not agreeing. The story's so weak, you're looking up facts about that. Yeah. But I think some, let's say, details are actually more fundamental. It's you're not buying the cop. Well, it's like, well, yeah, because that's like some of those key, I don't know. I'm having a hard time. Like, there weren't a lot of really terrible details here. Like, it's not, I don't think we're actually getting wrapped up in details. It's bigger things. It's later on, maybe a bit of a nitpick with the sound of the sword. Umbrella.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff, it's like, no, that's not a detail. We're introduced to character X. We're introduced to character Y. and they're behaving in certain ways that are all directed. Somebody said, this is, yeah. That's the take we want to save. Sing to the script supervisor. That's the good one. All right. The street noise here, I don't, it's in a residential neighborhood. In a rich residential neighborhood.
I think there's
I didn't have a problem
school
with
across
lack
the
of
way.
street noise.
Yeah.
You know?
Some blocks are quieter than others, but yeah, I think they could have made more there was a school across the way. They could have made a little more of that, but I don't think they.
I did see something where Katie responded, and I get you. Everyone, we can see into everyone else's apartment, at least the important ones, you know. But you saw that in Rear Window too, you know, the vast majority of the time it's wide open and brightly lit, you know. So this maybe goes more on the positive side, as Vlad said. You don't notice that if the story's compelling, if we're into. And again, Jim, what's the story about? If you look at the log line, and I'm not talking about the meaning, I'm talking about the actual effing movie. Like you've got she lives you have in their IMDb log line, an agoraphobic woman living alone in New York begins spying on her new neighbors, only to witness a disturbing act of violence. That's a great setup. But I couldn't, if I was telling somebody later, it's like, oh, and then she's on the hunt to figure out what happened and no one believes her, but she does all their sleuthing and she figures it out all from her apartment. You can tell the movie I really wanted to see.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not about that. It's also not about, this woman's trapped in her apartment because she's agoraphobic, and the killer she saw, because she doesn't see the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Like if she saw the perpetrator, if she saw the kid and tried to convince everyone, the kid's a maniac. Then we got another different movie, and it could be really exciting as the kid starts to, I'm going to get you. No one believes you. Nope, didn't get that. What is this movie about? Other than a depressed woman on too many meds and drinking way too much.
I think
shambling around her home.
I was thinking about this earlier, like the bigger meaning. I think it's about sort of the way we imprison ourselves with our own lives. Like we're all sort of, to some extent, her more so, a prisoner of her circumstance. She had sentenced herself basically for driving off the road and accidentally killing her husband and child. And so I think if you're taking a bigger thing out of that, it's that she's
but
in
that
this
would be, but that's
prison.
not the story.
That's not the story. No, it's a more of a
theme. There may be a bit of a theme there. Yeah, we'll get into the theme, but
that might be me reading into it.
What's this fucking movie about? What's the story? There's a series of Trey Parker and who's the other guy? They do.
Yeah. Parker and I should
Trey
know
Parker
this.
And the other guy who
they've been around.
That
South Park.
Animated show that I think
South Park.
They talk about there's storytelling, yes and then, which I'm a particularly bad at sometimes when I'm telling a story. And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. That's what we watched. We watched a series of events, one happening after the other. Whereas they're like, hey, if you want to tell a story well, it should be yes, but, or yes, therefore. No scene leads to another scene, or very few lead logically to another scene. We have a scene, and then the next day, and something else happens. It's not yes, but or yes, therefore. It's just a series of events that at the end, the perpetrator has to actually show up and say, well, I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah.
Like we don't even get decent hints that he was creeping around the house. She doesn't have any moment where she says, are people spying on me? Except that one picture, but otherwise she's not going, oh, this is out of place. And even why was Punch hurt? Like she doesn't do any of that. It's so I think that's what I mean about what's the story about. It doesn't make any. There's no tick tick tick. Now
Matt Stone.
Thank you, Matt Stone. Thank you. Vlad65 says, my point on the script or story is there are too many moments that would not have happened. Though your point on directing, collaborating is also true. I'm going to stay it right now. I'm just 100% true. We can... but yeah, we've got to look at the story. And there are moments that wouldn't have happened. Yeah, absolutely. Some of the stuff just doesn't make it, it's like that. I don't believe that. But I'm more worried about the connective tissue of one to the other. And it's like one thing does not lead to the other, DMG says, the script felt lazy. Again, which script are you referring to? I'd like to see this script everyone's referring to.
I think he develops that
and
idea,
then these guys, apparently, I am enjoying this. Both DMG and Vlad are all like, oh, but a stage script would have been better. It's like, again, which script are you talking about? How do you know that? Please, gentlemen, show me your work. Yeah. No, absolutely. And that was done poorly. But I think the neighbors do. Here's the thing, folks. It's how you handle the visit. You can have someone come over. No one's saying that's not possible. You got to give them a decent reason. Actually, I was okay with the gift from Mom. I didn't think that was, terribly. And I'm going to push back on people in cities. Don't do that. I mean, I live in a city. I've lived in bigger cities. We engage with our neighbors. I could see some parent go make nice with the neighbors where we moved here now. I was okay with that. I think a lot of what we're doing here is because the story was so weak, everything sucks now. Heard somebody talking about how it's a trope that no one says, and it should stop. It's unrealistic that no one says hello when they pick up the phone in a movie. They don't say hi, who's there, or anything. First of all, we all now know who's calling, unless it's caller unknown. But it's like film develops conventions. And they develop conventions because we don't want to see the boring parts, Yeah. If we actually had telephone conversations that work like most telephone conversations, we'd be like, oh my God, this call, they haven't even gotten to the meat of the issue. They're still busy. Oh my God, what do you mean you're going to talk about your grandmother now? Oh dear Lord. Jesus, we just spent 10 minutes on the weather.
The one thing I would say to that is that people don't say thank you enough in movies. Somebody does something for each other, it's just, you get the nod or something like that. But anyway, that's my own thing. I will say another thing that bugged me too was the egging scene. When her house got egged, it was like it was some sort of, they were throwing dead animals at it. It's just like, thump. That's another thing that was slightly, I think, overbaked.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of like the color, all this stuff. It's almost like, well, if we mash this button hard enough, it'll make up for the fact that this story doesn't make a lot of sense. And this is
distractions.
Where I think, what? Without getting into the details, the intricacies of a script versus story in film analysis, I think what it looks like we're all agreeing on. Like if you're looking at these chat messages, everyone's like, just, yeah, the story wasn't engaging, so everything sucks. Cause even a good thing now sucks, because it's like, well, I got nothing better to look at what the movie really is. You know, a series of disconnected events where we have to be told at every key moment where we should be shown, we have to be told. The key moment where we discover her backstory, and yes, we're shown it, but only after we're told it. And even that, because it's a flashback, it's exposition. You know, like that kind of just stops the story cold right there. You know, when we're finally at the point where, well, I guess we're in the third act. What are we going to do? I guess she's got to die. We got to find out who the killer was. Because remember, she was just going to kill herself. But even if she didn't kill herself and she just decided to go on with her life, it's only that the killer shows up and says, and tells everyone what he's doing that we know what was going on. What the hell?
If it wasn't for you and your meddling middle-aged, you know.
Yeah, but she's not even meddling. She's barely causing. She's barely an inconvenience to him. It was super easy to kill. It was super easy for them to hide the body. We don't even see a carpet rolled up leaving the. Give us something.
Oh,
right?
She was found by Fort Lee, he says later on.
Where the hell's Fort Lee? Was that
New
the
Jersey
camping trip that we didn't even know about?
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't care. But that's exactly it. It's not yes, but, or yes, therefore. Scene X happens, which logically means the next scene, or something new happens that screws that and turns everything in a new direction. This is all, this scene happens, then he rolls in and says, I'm the killer. What the
with a big knife. And a hoodie. And a hoodie like those teenage serial killers often use. Them and their hoodies.
Yeah. Anyway, you know what? Everyone else is talking about Rear Window because it is the better movie.
Well, you know, and in a way, it's probably not fair. I mean, it's obviously an inspiration. It's got to be one of the best movies one of the best movies, period. You know, if you want to boil it down to psychological thriller or what have you, but just so well done, strong idea. I don't know if it'd been done before.
Other films, like they riff on film noir in there. Like there was a one where I'm sure it was Lauren Bacall, but here
I have a list.
So Laura was referenced, Dark Passage, and Spellbound. Like these are classics. And this isn't. I mean, heck, or if you're gonna do, heck, she doesn't even, other than watching them and knowing them off by heart, does she ever reference them in? This is like Spellbound, or no, they're just there as set dressing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like you said. We should, like you said at the beginning, we should watch that movie. That's the movie we should watch.
Rear Window was my mom actually took me to see that because they re-released it.
This is a terrible joke that only our man DMG could come up with. Instead to note that. Say that again, Jim.
I was just gonna say my mom took me to Rear Window when I was 12 or 13. They re-released it, and I got the chance to watch it at the Park Theater, which is a single-screen theater still operating in South Osborne area of Winnipeg. As sort of an event, mostly like a venue.
A music venue, but they show movies, yep.
But the treat was seeing it on a single screen. Wonderful. And to see it for the first time, I was just about shooting out of my seat. And, you know, also being introduced to Grace Kelly for the first time.
Yeah, it's a genius film. Yeah. Well, and this is where, like, there was things going on there that could have made for so much better a film.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, geez. There's a lot of great films that changed the subject material,
Yeah.
but a book has a lot of time to follow all these things down, right? Yeah, no, this is not a good story. At least the kid killer showing up. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of these. But yeah, you know what? This is a failed movie. You can't recommend it except for Amy Adams.
Mm-hmm.
You know? This was not the story. But this is, and now I'm going to go back again. Screenplay, that's the maquette. That is the maquette, the artistic rendering. You get a name like Amy Adams, she'll have notes. You get people now starting to cut checks, they'll have notes. The director has their idea of what should be. I think Gary Oldman is too old and professional a hand to, he came in and collected his paycheck. Did what he was told to do and said, "Oh, I trust you, sure." And then he looks at it. Well, no one will blame me for why it sucks. Jennifer Jason Leigh probably suffering like most older women do in that business. Kind of going, "Well, I'm getting this role. Sure, I'll take the check." She's still going to get paid a decent amount. Looks like most of it was shot in New York. I think she lives in New York. She's like, sure. Send a driver. What? 3 days? You bet. Sounds good. Could I get a copy of the script? Well, we're still working on it. And then apparently this went through reshoots because of test screenings. So, and test screenings are such a terrible way to judge a film. Oh. They're not, well, I shouldn't say they're, actually, Pony Smasher does a great thing. He's had his film judged by test screenings, has learned a lot. So, but what was lost in a test screening? Was it a really strong movie somewhere and it got blown out?
I don't understand this. I'm finding this opaque.
So all right, so do we need a scene where the killer tells you everything? That would help. Then it's like, well, something's got to go because this movie ain't going to be 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the meaning, Jim. That's another thing where it's like, maybe there's more we can say on it. I don't know. What do you think?
We can try. We might have to reshoot it.
You did kind of touch on something just regarding that regret. A prison of her own making. Yeah. Which is not a super original thought, but I'm thinking that sort of like the art. I know agoraphobia is a real thing, and at the end it says 9 months later, and she's apparently free to move around, and she's achieved whatever balance she needed to in her life, whether it was combination of meds and therapy or just having that, and actually recovering from the thing. I should say though that she's got a new trauma. Maybe they just canceled each other out. Coming to almost death in like what it was like a creek bed. It's like, why is there so much water up there? I don't think mold's your problem. You got a roof lake. Well, and that over the course of and this is that thing where we started to, remember when we were watching Da 5 Bloods and we were saying, how much gold could they carry? If you estimate, if it's $3 million, let's break, how much is a gold bar? Because I don't think they could carry that much because it's really heavy. And you're like, well, maybe I'm not really into this movie. But if you take a size of the brownstone and it has a foot of water for the length of it, that roof is going to collapse, at some point. But anyway, that's one of those stylistic choices, right? Yeah. It's style over sight. Like, come on, there would not be that much that if there was a bucket with rain in it, sure, but and that's an expensive shot.
Yeah.
Like that rooftop, that's it's all money. Like we're actually seeing a fair bit of money on the screen. The art direction is obvious and overt and pricey. You know, like, is it good? I almost like I do. There's a part of me. It's like, am I really missing something about the color, their use of color, or is it just that obvious? And I'm too afraid of not liking it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You know, where I really should be like, no, this isn't a French art piece, you know, where she just slowly devolves in her home and the colors change. Anyway, sorry. Back to a prison of her own making.
That's as close as a kind of a meaning that so we were getting into agoraphobia. If you want to, think that this is something that she's chosen, which is sort of undermining, any kind of psychology or basic psychoanalysis, she's chosen to put up these walls, to be stuck behind these walls and stuff like that. By the end, she's, conversely chosen to be free or found the means to be free, letting go and stuff like that. I find it was interesting that she was the cause of the accident, as well as
she's sleeping around with someone.
And so she was the bad guy in the relationship, essentially. And that's kind of a ballsy choice. I mean, that's to make somebody, the survivor, to make them the cheater. That was sort of an interesting thing. But, again, we're not finding this out until the third.
And again, nothing was really done with it. Nothing was done with could have done with it. Oh,
and that I have to say too, and this doesn't have to do, we probably should have brought this up in story. We're given no sense of any of the outside, like her life. Does she have parents? Where was she going? Is that dude still, or assuming it's a dude, it could be anybody. Oh yeah, because Buddy says him, like her husband says, is that him calling? So yeah, it is a man. Was he still in the picture? Was that an option? We're really given no real sense of her except in this apartment, and that's another fault. But anyway, so it seems that she springs herself free in 9 months, and after, and again, I have to say that the fight scene was actually, she got it pretty good. That claw, the hoe in the side. Once I saw that, and you could see it in the inside of her mouth, I thought, whoa, that's grisly. I don't think she's going to survive. But she did, and kudos as well to the makers of this film for not killing the cat, because that was I think I wrote down in the notes, cat's dead, in the first 5 minutes.
But I thought like that would be excuse me, it would tell us where the movie's going at least.
Yeah.
It would tell us, well, there is a maniac, kill the cat, or make the cat hurt in a way. And I don't mean you got to show it to us, cat's limping, and then maybe a close-up on a rabbit's paw with a bit of artful. That's not normal. That's not something a cat, hey, the reports of neighbor kids picking on cats, something like they could have used that to develop the maniac kind of thoroughfare. Somebody had said that the portrayal of agoraphobia was super unrealistic. I didn't.
Somebody
think
in our chat?
Yeah, in our chat.
Okay.
It may have been DMG. Somebody in our chat said that. Dragon movie guy. Jim's right. The main character is sleeping around and almost gets killed by a hoe. I need a rim shot sound effect. You know what? Getting into the meaning again, I think that idea of forgiveness, because David, if there's a meaning, there's forgiveness, there's when are you free from past sin? when do you face that? Because what did David do? Like I think that's probably the closest we have to a theme. David on parole. He's breaking parole, but he is trying to deal with it. He's, a good guy who dies because, we can't have just one maybe murder because we don't actually see a body.
Yeah.
We have to actually prove that somebody died. Even the dad you could kind of see where the dad is trapped in a prison because his son is this maniac. They know he is.
Yeah.
And they're also trapped with trying to pay off the old mom, who keeps coming back like any blackmailer.
Yeah.
Is also kind of crazy in that. So I think that, probably the closest we have to a theme is really that idea of, how we're all, and that certainly fits a good noir. And this is something I think DMG said about great cinematography. I'm not 100% sure of that, because does it serve the storytelling? And I don't think it did in the end. But a good noir, a good whodunit, it is supposed to kind of come back to, like, as the sleuth digs further, they discover more about themselves. Like, that seems to be kind of a thing where it sort of doubles back on itself.
Yeah.
And so, but because she wasn't much of a sleuth, it has to be just dumped on us, because she really doesn't sleuth anything. But yeah, I think so. I think you're right, Jim. That got me thinking, and it's like, all the key characters are trapped in a way by their past, choices they made in their past, secrets that they're all keeping. She's even keeping from herself. No, everyone's still alive. We're just separated. Separated by death.
True.
So they're all they're all doing it, and we just don't feel any catharsis because we weren't walked through that journey with them. Any of them. Yeah.
Kind of sprung on us.
It's unfortunate. I think somebody said, hey, we were about 7 minutes. Ahmed is here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He was lurking.
He was lurking.
Like a teenage neighborhood boy.
Good to see you here, Ahmed, our man in Kuwait City. Richard said, I wanted to kind of note that's given how she's coped with trauma in her life to date. I'm surprised how much she recovered after the movie's events. It's like, well, all I can think of, Richard, is, she had one traumatic event, but then this one happened where she can really say it's not her fault, and maybe they kind of cancel each other out. There was 9 months. I'm assuming there was even more therapy. She's in a hospital, so all of a sudden she's off. She's not drinking. She may have the booze, whatever. Who knows? By then and actually going back to Ms. Adams' performance, one of the bright lights of this whole film, it's like she walks like she earned it. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
Or who knows, maybe it was just, hey, it's over. Let's check out these credits.
This was supposed to be a big release back a few years. Like, it was supposed to be a fall release, right? It was supposed to be a movie for adults. And there was actually, it's the last of the Fox 2000 films to be released, apparently. So then it got, interestingly, it through all the purchases, it's technically a Disney movie that they sold the rights to Netflix to play, because I don't think they wanted to have it on the Disney Channel. Watch DuckTales, watch The Mandalorian, and watch this depressing thing. What's that?
They got that star thing.
Yeah. But
I think it was what is it? Test screening. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, they just said, they lined up the talent behind it. They had Amy Adams, who's, been forever nominated for Academy Awards, never won. I read that it was 6 times that she's been nominated or something. And this is maybe her chance. And she's got, part of the reason why we like her, or if you like her, that you're a big fan, is that she's worked her way into a place where she does get a shot at the juicier roles and the prestige HBO series and things like that. That those things aren't accidents, but at the same time,
once chew scenery in this.
Yeah.
I'd
say I think you're right.
She was always reserved. She looks like I would say yes. She is depressed, and she sees. Yeah. She presents as a depressed person. I thought that was quite accurate. That schlepping around in the same clothes, sleeping a lot, always sleeping, always tired, not wanting to be around people, mostly because it's like, I look like shit. I'm not the person I was,
Yeah.
Which is a big part of depression. DMG says she's the Susan Lucci of Oscars now.
Yeah.
Good one. Listen, folks, Jim, I don't know, is there anything else to add to the meeting? Like, we almost had to create it in a way. There's just not a lot. There's not enough. The story's weak enough. There's just not enough meat here. Geez, that oxygen thing that I did on, and speaking of which, folks, another plug, go check out my my hot mic review. Link in the description. Please check it out. I want that to succeed. Where was I, Jim? Sorry. I think. Oh yes,
making up.
It is. Oh yeah, making up the meeting. I don't know. Is there anything else we could really add to the meeting, or is it maybe?
No, I think we'd be shoehorning it in.
Director. There. Yeah. So before we get into the director pass or fail, spoiler alert. Before we get to the director pass or fail, I think it maybe is, first of all, time to shamelessly beg everyone for a like, notwithstanding my rant and saying you're all wrong. Ask for a subscription if you haven't already. Of course, don't forget to ring that bell.
Unless the neighbors are watching.
Unless the neighbors are watching. because, as Katie mentioned, you have all your windows open. Not a blind to be seen. Although, here's an interesting tidbit. I learned this from Julie Carr when she used to be at the Free Press. We were talking about this, talking about privacy, anonymity, and that. And she regaled me with a tale of a case, went to the Supreme Court, is my understanding. There'd been a tragedy. There's somebody had died, either an accident or murder. Anyway, reporter, photographer went to the house of the family this tragedy happened to. They had lost a family member. They said, no, we don't want to talk to anyone. Sure. They go back outside. The photographer, or I believe a photographer, from the sidewalk, they've got their front window open. They're no blinds up or anything. He takes a picture of this family doing a group hug. Really poignant moment. Of course, they publish it. Goes all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, and they say, yeah, you don't have any right of anonymity. That was newsworthy. He wasn't taking a... It's not like he broke into the home to take that picture. He wasn't trespassing. It was a legitimate news story. All this stuff. It's like, you close your blinds next time. So, cautionary tale.
Yes.
But then how would we know about the murder? How would we know? Have to figure out another way. Maybe they close the blinds, you see banging against the blinds, and then something that looks like a body coming out, but you're never sure, and then we have a goddamn mystery, and that's an interesting movie. Jim, you and I should not be enough to fix a movie.
Yeah.
Like, really, we've come up with several different ways this movie could have been done better.
Oh, yes.
All right. Yeah. But before we get into reviewing our director. Jim, why don't you tell us about, let's give you the whole screen for a second. Or no, we can do this way. Why don't you tell us about what, I wonder if I can do it that way. Oh, I can, but I'm not going to. Jim, tell us about what we're watching next weekend.
Well, there's a brash new young filmmaker who's coming out with a movie called Army of the Dead. I believe he's an American. I think this is his first movie. Just kidding. It's Zach. That's quite a poster.
Schneider. It is quite a poster. It's got a lot of color, which I'm not used to from a Zack Snyder film of late.
Yeah, that's odd. I wonder what happened to him. But anyway, where's the matte black and white or the polished metal that he usually goes for? The
desaturated metal. Everything.
Yes, exactly. And Brian's very happy that we're going that direction. Yeah. So that's
well,
good.
You know what? There's a method to my madness here, Brian. First of all, I do like zombie movies. It's one of the few horrors I am okay with. That's a good one. It's one of the few horror subgenres, microgenres that I'm okay with, that I can still watch. Well, it was right around this time, Jim, I think we watched Blood Quantum last year.
Yes. Yeah.
A Canadian zombie movie.
Yeah. Which is on Crave still.
Which is
if
on
anybody
Crave.
wants to watch. Yeah.
We both raved about it, if memory serves.
Yeah.
So first, there's that. Second, like you'll notice, Jim and I have put together like a run of films that came out recently, and I wanted to keep that going.
Yeah.
But third, most importantly, I do think I am going to this week, one of my hot mic reviews will be where I rank Zack Snyder's films from least or from most to least offensive or least to most offensive. I'm not sure which direction I'm going to go in yet, but I will be doing that this week. You should subscribe if you want to join, if you want to watch that live. And then we'll take a look at his most recent film, because I do think it is, especially for a director I have such a mean on for in a lot of ways, that it's like, you know what the hell? Take a look at this effort after all that has changed for him. And it was something that Brian brought up and I'll actually, you know what? I'll make sure there's a card somewhere here to refer to Brian and I's chat about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think it is worthy because that movie, in many respects, was made several years ago. He's gone through a lot of changes. You know what? Let's see if there's a new Zack Snyder or somebody who's appreciably different. I doubt it, but so that's kind of my thinking. Okay, so there's a couple of comments here before we get into the director.
Sure.
That I want to bring up. Vlad says, and this is an interesting comment. Vlad says, given all my criticism, this is a project made by many wonderful people with proven talent, yet it failed. It's almost a textbook case that could be studied. You know what? What do you think of that, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Sometimes Hollywood's a place where you only get part of the picture, so you'd have to make sure you had the whole picture, first of all. But I don't disagree with his comment. I'm just saying that, imagine all this. I've often wanted to read those sort of old gossipy books about Hollywood. That's what the Pictures in a Revolution is sort of like. I got about 200 pages into it, then I had to return it to the library because they were mad at me. But anyway, I couldn't renew it. So, but it was a lot about setting up the movies and stuff like that, and it just gives you a little more insight, or a lot more insight on the sort of the details and how things can go in the wrong direction, or how they can, align planets really beautifully and work well. So, yeah.
I think the other thing, what I enjoy about these failures these movies is it gives us an opportunity to talk about what went wrong. I'm from a not so much from the gossip side of things myself. I'm like, I think you hinted at it, Jim, or maybe even said it, but it bears repeating. You'll never really know how bad it went.
Yeah.
First of all, you'll never really know because these are all folks. It's one of the reasons why Jim and I, you know what, we agreed we're never going to interview a star. We're never going to interview a director. We're never going to interview a writer. Not that they're all chomping at the bit to be interviewed by Jim and I, but we're not, because we're not going to be able to ask them real questions where they'll go, here, this is the way this played out. Or, I think the other thing, though, what we all have to keep in mind is even you could have the best talent around the table, and sometimes it just doesn't work. It could very well have been, it could have very well have been that everyone was excited about the script. They changed nothing. They really thought they had a winner on their hands. And then when it gets made, because again, the script is not the movie where you're at, it's almost like looking at blueprints and going, I see the genius in it. And it just, making movies is hard. Making good ones is infinitely harder. And sometimes there's a fair bit of luck involved. But what we get, I think what Jim and I and everyone in the chat here gets, the benefit we get of looking at these ones that didn't work for whatever reason is an opportunity to figure out why it didn't work from a filmmaking perspective, from a story perspective. And I just love that. I love the fact that we can dig into it and kind of go, what could have been done? What was going wrong here? Not from a personality behind the camera perspective, but hey, if character X didn't do that, would we have a different movie? And doesn't that sound better than the nonsense we're watching,
Yeah.
The Vlad also recommends a video. Check out The Devil's Candy about Bonfire of the Vanities. Oh no, I think that's a book about the development of that movie and how bizarre that was.
Yeah. Melanie Griffith getting a boob job in the middle of actually filming it, all kinds of other things going on.
Well, and that's it. But that's the thing. Like, I mean, sometimes just some players are going off the rails, and you're adapting to that. And I guess we got to change things.
Yeah.
Like, there's script pages for everyone's doing the best. Sometimes there's script pages. Like, if you ever work on a union movie, a unionized movie, let's say. So you're talking about millions of dollars. You get the white production script, and then there are pages, and they're usually based on color, so that you can always kind of know, well, what pages are you on? Well, we're on pink pages. There's an order of colors to make sure that everyone's literally on the same page. And what I'm saying is that there's this system because in production, the script is always changing. It is a living document because of a million players, and certainly not the writer. The writer isn't going, I've come up with a different way to do this. It's more the director and production manager said, we can't afford that scene. Okay, we're going to change it this way. Rewrite the script. Rewrite that scene or whatever. Or we lost our actor that we were going to have play that. So anyway, DMG, Zack Snyder, offensive in politics or offensive in how bad they are? You'll have to watch to find out.
I think he's trying to bait our friend from Toronto.
Who's our friend from Toronto? In the
604 guy.
Our friend from Vancouver, you mean?
No. The young guy from Toronto who... Oh, no. I hope he doesn't watch this now.
Eric?
Eric, yeah.
Oh.
Eric Thorpe.
Or, yeah, where the hell's Upside Down or those guys? Yeah.
Yeah. They'll tune in. They'll be here next week.
And then they're referred to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yes. Steven Spielberg made that. And I'm sure there's still people say the script was bad. So no, Steven Spielberg. No one is gonna say, oh, he was bound by the script he was given. Steven Spielberg. I suspect he could effectively say no to George Lucas. It's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. They had to agree. A script is not a movie. Rob, I think I see a book in your future. Maybe not a book, but perhaps a video essay. All right, guys. Let's go to let's move forward. We are now looking at Jim, the director. Pass or fail? Pass or fail, Jim? What are you going to say for Mr. Joe Wright?
Let's go with fail. It's a bit mushy. I should get harsher. We've given too many passes, I think, this year. But let's give him a fail. Watch Atonement, right? Watch that one. If you're gonna watch a Joe Wright movie, he's done better stuff.
Yeah. We can actually. It's funny. We have referred to great work. All the key players that we've discussed have been involved in. That you could just kind of maybe I'll even. If I'm really feeling up for it and cheeky enough, I might actually go into a pinned tweet and just say, all right, if you want to see something Gary Oldman's in, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Amy Adams, a lot of great work. Joe Wright, go see Atonement. Anybody in the chat want to chime in on another movie that you could see instead of this one involving a player from this one? That'd be great. Okay, I fail. Oh yeah, it's not a good movie. The story doesn't make the story. There's no story here. You have a series of events that happen in a chronological order. Even that, they go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. It's like, okay, what does this mean?
Is it significant?
It's not significant to anything. I know, Vlad, I saw your comment and I will bring it up. But first, and I'll probably bring it up in my final thoughts. Jim, final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
There's just not a lot to say. He failed.
There's, again, I can't remember if you and I talked about this online or just between ourselves, but, you have to think that you're not going to see every movie you want even. So, you have to sort of decide, what movies do you want to spend some time with? There are, watching for the first time or even rewatching. So I would say, if you feel like this, it's nice to watch something new, of course, but new, 3 years old and new. But I would say watch Rear Window again. Probably not in the minority with that, but definitely that, or Atonement by better works by Joe Wright, and better works by Amy Adams and Tracy Letts and Gary Oldman and a few. Walt says watch Darkest Hours. That was one of his comments there. So there's other better movies out there that you can spend your time on. So
heck, it has nothing to do with this film at all, but The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. And then watch Walt's latest, Walt's Flick Picks, watch his latest video on that.
Yes.
Look at that. It's like
his West Coast, his crazy West Coast vibe.
Of a 60s British thriller, spy thriller. Vlad 65, Body Double has a similar plot. Here's an interesting tidbit on this, Jim. If I can jump in with my final thoughts.
Sure.
The writer of this, AJ Finn's a pseudonym. The actual writer is, let me grab his
in the industry.
His real name. Oh yeah, this dude. Oh, for crying out loud! Can you help me out?
My whole family has cancer and is dying. Really? No, I'm bipolar.
It's NewYorker.com, a suspense novelist's trail of deceptions. Daniel Mallory, that's his name. It debuted at #1, adapted right away. Like, what the F? But what's interesting is he was actually, there is another book, and if I can, here, let me see if I can't find the title. It wasn't, it's plausible. Certainly similar plots come up all the time, right? So it is certainly plausible that it was developed at the same time. That said, given his penchant for, well, just out and out lying to, move himself forward, and that he was in the publishing industry when his book got developed, it's not unreasonable. He was accused, or that somebody brought up, where is it here? I can't seem to find it. But another thing was, what also came up is that some of the key plot elements come from the film Copycat. And here, let me see if I can't put that up on the screen.
Trey ironic.
For us. Well, I remember actually, once I looked it up, I'm like, oh my God, Jim, I've seen this movie.
Okay.
And it was 1995.
Oh my.
Back in 1995, Jim, a little show starring Sigourney Weaver and Holly Hunter. Not that anyone can actually see that. But it was this idea of a woman who, because of things that happened, ended up, she was a shrink, and she ended up being agoraphobic, and there's another serial killer on the loose.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's not a beat for beat copy in any way, but some of the, a lot of the elements are similar. Mind you,
yeah.
I've watched too much film. So many films are obviously, like Mission Impossible 2, really almost for a beat copy of Notorious, a Cary Grant flick. And it's like, because there's only so many stories, there's only so many ways you can take it.
Yeah.
I remember I made a catty comment, and a pro went and said, well, guess what? That's the whole, that's storytelling. So,
yeah.
But the book, there was a book reference where it was like, oh, this smells a little. Like, in a way, the writer of the book everything's based upon is in some ways more interesting. We could make a movie about him and could have like a thriller where another author dies and what's really going on. And he's like, no, I'm really trying to figure out what's happening here. I'm not the killer. I'm the sleuth. Anyway. That's otherwise, folks, I'm not going to apologize, because I think some of our best shows are when we're looking at less than positive films like this.
Yes. Next week's Showgirls.
And I got to get in my screenplay rant.
There you go. Dragon
Book
Movie
to
Guy
follow.
says Joan Cusack's agoraphobia was better in Shameless. So there's that. Big fan of Joan Cusack.
I am.
Who was also in the Chris Makepeace movie My Bodyguard, which is a nice little possibly
one of these
forgotten
movies
gem.
we got to take a look at under our Does It Hold Up banner. Ooh, speaking of which, everyone, do not forget, 2 weeks and counting, we will be looking at Blade Runner. And whether or not that holds up. And we're fortunate enough, as has been discussed before, someone to watch over me. I remember that. That was Tom Berenger, wasn't it?
You'll like this movie, Bart. It's got Tom Berenger in it.
Oh my goodness!
when he's
Apparently
helping
it's
to
the first
cover
movie that-
Principal's affair with Krabappel. But
All right. Okay. It looks like we've lost half the chat already. We're pretty much done here. Everyone.
go to
I
Walt's
do-
Flicks Picks. Is that
Yes.
yes.
Yes. And if you're in a rush to do it now, just go to our last video. I put it in the top comment. Or just, you know what? Type in Vlad65. Because if you type in Walt's Flicks Picks, you may not see it right away. So type in Vlad65, pull up that channel and go there. And you're,
I tried
you're in great
Walt's
shape.
movies, and I got a bunch of Disney movies. So it's just
Even
Walt
Walt's
Disney. I'm like,
Flick
what's
Picks,
going on here?
I got Disney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. Let's first of all, let's thank you all so much for
Yes.
popping by. Really do appreciate it. First of all, Walt. Walt, thanks very much for coming by. DMG. Thank you, Brian, for dropping by, bringing both the wonderful jokes and the terrible jokes that are so terrible they're wonderful. You're the man. Look forward to collaborating with you again. Shashank.
He's the Zack Schneider of jokes. Sorry. I thought he would appreciate that.
Zing.
Shashank, you were saying.
Great seeing you here, and we are going to collaborate because now I've got the Let's Talk About thing that we can do at a different time frame. So you and I, we're going to get you back on the show. And then maybe once the summer kind of kicks into gear, Jim's schedule frees up, we'll have you back on. We'll do a couple of brunch. We'll do our damnedest to do a couple of brunch. Jim and Rob overanalyze movies. We'll have you back on. That is not the only reason we have not looked at Bollywood again. We should be looking at another Bollywood film. Another very successful film for us. Okay. DMG, Shashank, Katie Fowler, Richard L. Katie Fowler and Richard L., thank you so much for dropping by. Ahmed, thank you, man, for coming by. Curtis Judd. Ahmed, Jelly Duck 100, and Curtis Judd. Thank you guys for popping in.
That Ono coffee.
Ono coffee.
Ono coffee.
Yeah, I think it's Ono coffee, but it may be
Is
Ono
it?
coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Ooh.
This is just in case. This is Takano Hana, my favorite sumo wrestler. But just in case anybody's been wondering, we achieved 28 degrees Celsius today in Winnipeg. So I've been fanning myself because I've been in this room for about 12 hours, and so it's quite warm.
And there you go. All right.
Yeah.
I think I've got everyone. Pretty sure, eh? So without any further ado, I'm thinking it's time to bring down the music. Jim, we'll see you in the green room, eh?
Yep.
Okay.
Peace.
Bring down the music and
happy
cue
watching.
the credits.